Hi, I'm Patty with Studio R12 Stencils, and today we're going to talk about washing stencils. I'll tell you when you'd want to wash your stencils, and I'm going to show you how to wash your stencils. Super educational, super quick. Stay tuned. All right, guys, let's talk about why you would want to wash a stencil. If you have used a stencil, a lot of times it will make a buildup around the edges of the stencil, and that will make a fuzzy edge to your stencil. So after you've used a stencil, somewhere around 5 times to 10 times, something like that, depending on how heavy-handed you are with your paint, that's when you'd want to wash your stencil so that you don't lose that detail. The beautiful thing about using a stencil is it has perfect detail every time you use it until you have paint buildup. Another really good time to wash a stencil is that sink. I love the auto eye on that, but it's inconvenient when you are filming in your kitchen. Okay, so the other thing that you would want to use, wash a stencil, another time you'd want to wash a stencil is when you've used glitter and forgotten to wipe it off at the end of your painting session. If you don't wash that off, your next time you use the stencil, you're going to have glitter all over your next project, and if you don't want that, it's going to be awful. So anytime you have smeared something on a stencil that is a little bit dangerous in the craft world, right? Glitter is dangerous. Okay, and I also want to show you one more reason. This is really kind of a tricky reason. I got my cookie sheets going to work here today. So, if you've used red paint on your stencil, the next time you use that stencil, it's going to bleed off into your paint and change your paint a color. So I'm going to pick up a dome brush. This one is not the normal one I use. Oops. And I'm just going to stencil right there over the red with white paint. And if you notice right here, I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but if you notice, that has turned that paint pink. If I'm trying to get white, it's not going to be beautiful. So you want to use, if you've done red paint, that would be a really good reason to go ahead and wash your stencil. All right, guys, now let's learn how to wash a stencil. In my case, my sink is not a farmhouse sink. I've got this little square, and all of the stencils that we use at Boardroom in our retail shop tend to be larger stencils. So this will not fit in my sink, but I'll show you the process. I would take some Dawn dish soap, any kind of dish soap will work, and I'm going to put some hot water in my sink. But in this case, I'm not going to be using this, but that's what you would do at home. We will go rob my baking supplies and just take a sheet pan, and we'll do the same steps, but we'll do it in a sheet pan. So we'll lay our stencil in there, and then get our water. You only need enough to cover the stencil. Super easy. Okay, then you let that sit. I'd let it sit 20-30 minutes just to make sure it's all nice and softened. I'll slide that out of the way. What if you have a really big stencil? So I got my big giant Rubbermaid tote for underbed storage and things like that. And I've had this guy soaking in there. You can see how many layers and layers and layers of paint there was. Had it soaking in the hot, it's cold soapy water now. It's been probably about 40 minutes. I'm gonna take, everybody's got this, collection of little things like this. You don't wanna use these scratchy things because they can catch the edges of your stencil and tear and bend and fold and that kind of thing. So I'm just going to use this little vegetable brush. Gonna come in there and gently swirl. And the paint will start loosening and coming off. And it's quite a little process. You're gonna be at it for a minute. There's an argument that says that you could go ahead and clean your stencil every single time so you don't have to do the soaking and the thing like that. It would be easier if you just went ahead and cleaned it right when you used it. I don't like to clean extra things, so that's just me. But that's the process to clean your stencils, is just put it in there and then gentle pressure with a little scrubby. You could also use your fingers and stuff like that. All right, sometimes you have stencils that have extremely fine detail. That is super fine. So how do you clean that? You can do it with the same brush and hot water treatment, but there's an alternate way that you can clean stencils, and that's using hand sanitizer. So just get your bottle of hand sanitizer and you just put it on there. You can rub it all over the delicate areas. And you can see that pink, the red paint just releasing right there. You can see what's happening there. And then you can just start wiping that away. You can do that when, oh gosh, look how much paint that came off just then. So you let that sit for a little bit. You can pick it up and kind of smear it, even if it's red paint, smear it on the other areas, and then just wipe that off. So that is how you can clean a delicate stencil. Keeping it flat. You can't fix a folded stencil, so you want to always make sure not to bend your edges and break your stencil. And if you treat these delicate areas way too firmly, it will break them and then you'll be sad. I removed my stencil from my pan of soaking water, and then I found that between my veggie brush, which I probably will not use for cleaning veggies now that I've got paint all jammed in it, between swirling and doing a little bit of picking at it, I'm ready. I've cleaned half my stencil. I just want to show you that, and I want to show you how to dry it. So let me pick that up. We'll rinse it underneath our faucet. If you use a lot of paint and you rinse it in your kitchen sink a lot, you want to make sure to leave some water running, because paint is plastic. When you've got wet paint and you're doing things with wet paint, it will dry in your plumbing. So you do want to run extra water, just like if you had hot grease in your sink. Okay, so now that we've got this, how do we dry it? You don't want to be rubbing on your stencil willy-nilly with any kind of like towel or abrasiveness, okay? So you can drape it on a cookie sheet, or you can take your towel, you could lay it on a towel, and you can just gently blot. Flip it over and gently blot the back. You could also just lay it on a towel, and you could also just go ahead and hang it by whatever hanging storage that you do. But if you need to, if you don't hang stencils, then you need to lay it down flat and let it just dry. All right, I hope you learned a lot about cleaning stencils. We have a lot of other videos on YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe to our channel and ring the bell, and you'll be notified when we have new and awesome information.